Today we had to go pants shopping, which is just, if you're a fat guy, exhausting.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I know that. It
doesn't matter how long you're there. It just...
Oh, yeah.
I tell you, though, I have found a place that I absolutely love, and it's pricey, but, like, it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. Have you ever been to DXL?
Yep.
That's the place. That's the place.
My work pants. That's the only place that I can find work pants. I used to rely on Burlington, because Burlington used to, from time to time, get stuff in. If you checked on a regular basis, you were good.
Right.
But I don't know if they just don't get fat people stuff anymore, or if, like, everybody's in the know, and then it's just a swarm of fatties roll in and just buy up all the pants all at once.
Swarm of fatties. I think I should name this episode that.
Swarm of fatties.
Time to get your fix. It's a horrible gaming podcast. It's not good, it's not great. Horrible gaming podcast. It's not even what you would call fair. It's really not that good. Horrible Gaming Podcast.
Hello, my name is Zachariah Van Sliders, and you, dear listener, have decided for whatever reason to tune into another Horrible Gaming Podcast. Yes, my voice still sounds like this. Maybe it is my voice from now on.
It's actually funny you say that, because I was actually sick-ish. In fact, I got sent home early from work yesterday because of it, and I couldn't speak. I don't know what it was. I had like a sinus thing. I sounded like you.
You know what's weird is Phil and Jacqueline. Same thing with them. The people who I watch the kids for. My brother-in-law, and I guess I don't know if it's sister-in-law. I don't know how that works, but like his wife. They both have like a weird throat thing too. Like, I don't know what it is. It just hit me harder, and it's just completely taking my voice box away. I've gone to the doctor now twice. My doctor last time was straight up like, call me in a week, and if you're still not better, I'm sending you to a fucking ear, nose, and throat guy.
ENT,
so,
yeah.
Yay, specialist. The man talking to me, though, he hasn't introduced himself.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, at this point, why would I? Neil, a.k.a. Tiny Wizard.
With me almost always.
Almost always.
So, yeah, we're going to get into it today. We've got a really crappy topic that I don't want to talk about again, and I'm cranky, so I'm sure this will be entertaining for all of you out there, not so much me right here now. That being said, before we get into all the cranky old manniness, I've got to say... Old mannery. I've got to thank the people who made this possible. Behind our ugly mugs, you see a picture. It was custom designed by Mr. Mark Bell. We thank him for that. And, of course, the theme song for this show and all shows here on the channel are provided by my brother, the man who makes the music, Nick Van Sliders. We thank him for that. We'll be right back with Fans Reaction.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, so that brings us to our most important segment, our first segment, Fans Reaction. That's where we, the co-hosts, talk to you guys, the fans. We riff on all your comments. We respond to you. We do all that fun stuff. So let's get into it. Last week, we're going to start with William Holt. Hi! Exclamation point. 100% not offended by your reminder messages. Talking with you is great. Well, tell my wife. On the Game Awards... My faith in the game industry is very low, but seeing Sifu, parentheses, fantastic game for sure, don't get me wrong, parentheses end, in a fighting games category made me lose a little faith that I had left. Quotations, this is not an award show, Neil, 100%. Thanks for the long show. I will stay subscribed for another week.
Oh, good.
Hashtag don't pre-order games. I completely agree with that hashtag. First of all, before we get into the comment, William just released his 6th episode of the podcast. He was on a break for a while, so check out his podcast on his channel, on his YouTube channel. I have not listened to it yet, but I am sure it's good. I've enjoyed the last 5 episodes, so looking forward to it. And I'm always happy to give an old man fan member a plug. William Hohen. Game. I don't have a lot of faith either. Sifu is an incredible game. It's absolutely one of the best. It should be considered in a lot of different categories. Unfortunately, one of those categories I don't think it should be in is fighting. Unless fighting encompasses every game with fighting in it, and if that's the case, some of these actual fighting game nominations need to get the boot to get some fighting, some brawlers in there and some beat 'em ups. But again, the biggest problem with Keeley's Fuckfest, the reason we call it Keeley's Fuckfest, is there's no rules. There's no rules. There's no actual ideas. It's just an excuse to do trailers. That's all it is. It's an excuse for him to get out there and do trailers under the guise of furthering the business in an artistic way, which it isn't. Like, if it was, more thought would be put into these awards. More thought would have been put into these categories.
Yeah, and the amount of times that we're going to hear that world premiere sound effect is just like, it's ridiculous. That's what it is when you sidebar all of these, because if anyone, which I'm sure if you're in this community, you've probably at least seen one of these game award shows. They'll come on, Keeley will say, oh, the winner of this is, and it's like a little bar off to the side. It's all gray with just plain text. And now he'll like, oh, say the name of it. Like, oh, the crowd applauds. All right, guys. Next up, we have a world premiere from our friends at blah, blah, blah. Or a musical performance from X, Y, and Z. Like, that's it. It's pageantry for consumerism, right, is what it is. It's right. It's not awards in an award sense.
Well, and I don't want to toot our horn, but the only award show gaming-wise that I have to compare it to is ours. And we put insane amounts of thought into this. And, I'm going to give you a little spoiler for some of the nominations because the voting has just now ended. For nominations, not voting overall. Mm-hmm. And I've been putting together a list. And you want to know how you know we're not corrupt? Sifu is not on the Experience of the Year list. It isn't. Because not enough people double voted it. I was the only person who put it there, and then at least 4 people had repeat games. So the 4 is locked. I can't even pick it because of we don't have double votes. I know what the nominations are for Experience, and Sifu's not on it. And I literally run this channel. I would have it on there if I could be corrupt. So, that's the kind of stuff that we need to see more of, and less of Kojima being nominated for stuff he shouldn't even be nominated for, and other stuff like that, or Overwatch being in Best Community Support. Stuff like that. That's just absolutely insane.
I'm going to call it now ahead of time. I feel like we're going to get a trailer for Kojima's next game at the Game Awards.
Definitely.
For no other reason other than
Best
the
friends.
fact that... Exactly.
Best friends. Best friends. Best friends. Okay, moving on. Jason, I'm nominating blood points for all categories. Need blood points. He's very into Dead by Daylight right now. He then says going in dry. I'm not exactly sure what he's referring to. We had a very long show. I'm sure it is topical and on point. I don't remember whatever comment we made to make him make that comment. The world, he then continued, the world has had a weird cat fetish for decades now. Yeah. Amen. Cats suck. I know Neil likes cats. He's got cats. Fuck cats. I hate cats. And even if you like cats, they're just cats, man. They're just fucking cats. Can we get over the cat thing? Get that cat off my show.
Look at this beautiful.
I'm editing it out. I'm editing it out of the show. Editing it out of the show. I'm gonna cut it.
Beautiful.
I'm gonna cut it. I'm gonna put one of those black censor bars over it. Look, even if you like cats, that's completely fine. That's preference. I am sick of cats getting special treatment in every form of entertainment media that we have because cats are there. Fucking terrible. It's terrible. And Stray shouldn't be anywhere on this. Maybe an indie or new IP or something like that, but not in Experience. It's ridiculous that it's up there. then we have Asylum 66. New Wolverine game should have a meow button.
Dedicated meow button.
Oh man,
You know what I need?
I'm in. I'm totally in.
Dedicated claws button.
Especially if Hugh Jackman's voicing it and it's just making Hugh Jackman meow over and over again. I'm down. 100% down. And then only one other comment came from Asylum. And speak of the devil, don't hit me too hard on this, but the world premiere still excites me a little. Look, here's the thing.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, Asylum. I'm not going to hit you hard at all for this, man. Here's why. It still excites me when I hear that goddamn thing. And that's one of the reasons I hate it so much, because that thing is literally created in a laboratory to hit the specific parts of your nerd brain that make you go, ooh! Like, that's what that sound effect, that's what that graphic, that's what it is made to do. There's a team of scientists just with, like, mice in a lab, like, that they're just testing over and over again, like, we should put more on the world premiere, or more boom in it, less boom, like just scientifically breaking down how best to make your nerd brain give you a chubby as fast as humanly possible. So I'm not going to hit you hard, man, because it does the same thing to me. I'm sorry, just belched. That just came on. It's a situation.
It's a situation.
But yeah, I mean, it still hits me. It's just I hate it for the practicality reasons. But it's still, I'm still, like, when I see it, I'm like, yeah. Oh, like, even when my face is like, God damn it. Somewhere in the back of my head, there is a sweaty, fat nerd with a shirt on that's 3 sizes too small, just holding magic cards in one hand, and fucking Marvel's Hero Clicks in the other, and he just sees that fucking graphic, and he goes, ooh! It just is. Anything to add, my friend?
Yeah, I was going to say, with that world premiere thing, like, it also at the same time, it still kind of excites me, but at the same time they give that same amount of hype to literally everything. Everything. So sometimes it's like, oh man, what's it going to be? And it's like, oh, the, crazy ass announcement that we weren't expecting forever.
Another Nintendo Switch farming game. Yay!
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Something like that, or like a mobile only dungeon crawler self-playing gotcha game.
Yeah.
It's all given the same
anime
level
chicks.
of credence.
Anime chicks that you get out of little like summonings. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, that's it for fan interaction. Unless you got anything to add, man, we can get on with the show today. All right.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, so our talking point is about Activision and FTC. I'm going to toss it over to Neil since this is his talking point today. So I'll let him give us the lowdown, on the stories that he has found, and then I'll be really angry about it.
Yeah, and
or maybe
boy,
not.
is it?
I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's kind of really weird. This whole. This whole Activision Blizzard Microsoft deal has had a long and storied saga basically since it's been announced. We have the whole Call of Duty part of it. Is Call of Duty going to be completely first party on Microsoft consoles now? Yes, no. They're like saying, oh, you can have Call of Duty on Sony platforms. It's fine for a little while. And then they said, well, as long as there's a console, it's fine. Like almost taking that weird low blow of, yeah, someday, Microsoft's going to beat Sony in these console wars and the PlayStation's not going to be a thing. Well, as we were kind of wondering if it was going to happen, apparently, according to Politico, via a Polygon article, there is tell that the FTC may actually be going to block the deal. It's according to this, the FTC is likely to try and block the deal with an antitrust lawsuit, citing 3 separate sources via Politico. This is also as the UK and the EU have also raised concerns about everything. Now, we kind of figured that this was something that may or may not happen. I had been leaning more towards the probably. Zach, I feel like you might have been a little more on the fence, maybe not. But they're in this weird position now, too, because a ton of information has come out about Sony and Microsoft, and they're now in this weird, like a reverse name calling, I guess. Microsoft is now saying that Sony is basically like, oh, Sony's the clear king. We're just the small little company trying to keep ourselves together. And Sony's coming out and saying, well, Microsoft has 29 million Xbox Game Pass subscribers. A direct quote from Microsoft: the suggestion that the incumbent market leader Sony, with clear and enduring market power, could be foreclosed by the smallest of 3 console competitors, the Xbox, as a result of losing access to one single title is not credible. Get the fuck out of here. And then from there, as I had mentioned, Sony's response was Microsoft already has a substantial lead in the multi-game subscription services. Game Pass has 29 million subscribers to Game Pass Console and Game Pass Ultimate, and is expected to grow substantially in the future. The multi-game subscription tiers of PlayStation Plus considerably lag. So they're both talking shit about themselves to make it sound like they're the victim in this situation. But one way or another, it's still, if the FTC swoops in and says, no, you guys can't do this, like, what is it then? Is it everything but Call of Duty? Is it, is it just full stop on it? Do they just take a look at it and say, hey, whatever? Like, there's a lot of weirdness to this whole situation now.
Yeah, okay, I'm gonna jump in here. So, first of all, I do want to say that neither me nor Neil are legal people. We are not lawyers. We're not paralegals. And honestly, on the point of when we get into, like, Federal Trade Commission law, I would have to say both of us are very amateur in that area, correct? Like, that should be a disclaimer on this conversation right off the bat. That being said, it's not going to stop us from making wild speculations. So let me be the first.
That's what I want to do.
Okay, first of all, the FTC, if the FTC really has a problem with this deal, then Sony's right. I mean, Sony is not the market leader. I do not believe for a second, because Microsoft came out and said, like, I think Phil Spencer actually responded to the 29 million thing, because I saw a thing about the 29 million. I didn't see the whole FTC, but responded to the 29 million thing and said maybe they're talking about projected subscriptions, but it's definitely not that right now. But then he didn't give a number, because there's definitely 29 million subscriptions. There's no doubt in my mind. I don't know any gamers that don't have Game Pass. So like, I don't doubt that they have that many subscriptions. And I've been saying this for a long time. The idea that Microsoft, that Xbox is putting forward, that they are the smallest of 3 console competitors is fucking insane. Even if their consoles are selling less, and the whole idea is predicated on the fact that their consoles are selling less than PlayStation 5. You don't need the consoles to get Xbox games, though. You need the PlayStation 5 consoles to get PlayStation. Well, not. I mean, obviously they've backtracked, but you see what I'm saying? Like, yeah, like. The reason that there's more console sales on PlayStation 5 is because of the software, but the amount of money, way more is going to Microsoft. Plus, it's Microsoft. It's fucking Microsoft. The idea that like Xbox is so separate from Microsoft and Microsoft's money that we should consider them the underdogs in the fight is absolutely insane. Microsoft is the biggest tech company on the fucking planet, or at least one of them. The mindscape that the money that Xbox is using to buy things isn't coming directly from Microsoft in the first place is insane. And this whole idea that they're doing of like separating church and state, separating Xbox and Microsoft, that's a fallacy. Personally, I don't 100% know if the FTC can fully block the sale. I think when they file a lawsuit, what they end up doing is putting sanctions on it, but I don't know that 100%. And when you said I was on the fence, that's what I'm on the fence about. I'm not exactly sure. Yeah. I figured that the FTC would do something. But I'm not exactly sure the process of that. You know what I mean? Like is this lawsuit, this whole block lawsuit, going to translate into some sort of weird sanctions on the deal, or is it actually going to translate into no, you can't buy them, period? I'm not 100% sure. I don't have the legal, you know what I mean? I just don't have the wealth of knowledge to know. That being said, I think it would be unprecedented if FTC blocked it. But everybody and their uncle has raised concerns about this deal because this deal is unethical. It is a violation of antitrust. And the idea that Call of Duty is not the biggest multiplayer game on the planet is crazy. It's crazy. The fact that Xbox is hanging it over people's heads and then saying, oh, but it's not that big. It is big. It is big. Name a multiplayer game that has more hype, that generates more money, that generates anything. And I'm not happy about it. I'm not the guy who's going to like sit here and praise Xbox's fucking, or praise Call of Duty's gamesmanship, but that's the facts. Like, it is the biggest multiplayer game on the planet. To control that means you do control a ton of that market. That's what they want. Plus, you're not just buying Call of Duty, and I don't understand why Sony is focusing so much on the Call of Duty aspect. You're getting so much more with this Activision. They're controlling, like, huge swaths of the gaming industry. They're studios, they're AAA studios, you know? Like, you're talking about Overwatch, you're talking about Hearthstone, you're talking about World of Warcraft, you're talking about all of these lumped in. It's definitely all of these things. And I've been saying, regardless of whether I thought it was going to be, because personally, I'm always on the side of evil money tends to win in this industry, and I always want to be wrong. But that's usually what I say is going to happen. I hope it gets blocked. I'm sorry, I'm wrapping up. It was an unethical purchase in the first place because it bailed out fucking Activision. And I hope it gets blocked, and I hope Activision gets put out with their dicks in the wind. Like, I hope they do.
Yeah, it'd be very interesting to see what would happen if, to good old Bobby, if anything happened with this deal falling through.
This deal is his golden parachute.
It really is. That's the thing. Like, he walks away scot-free.
Scot-free. Scot-fucking-free.
So, I mean, you had even mentioned about, like, Call of Duty, and there's just, like, more quotes in this whole thing that they've thrown back and forth to each other. Go for it. And I'll bring this up here. Sony had said, even assuming that Sony Interactive Entertainment had the ability and resources to develop a similarly successful franchise to Call of Duty, it would take many, many years and billions of dollars to create a challenger to Call of Duty. And the example of EA's Battlefield shows that any such efforts would more than likely be unsuccessful. So, like, now they're, like, dragging other people into it and shit. But, like, at the same time, too...
I feel like, yeah, like, Battlefield in the corner is like, hey! what do we do?
And then we have shit that just genuinely doesn't make sense with these, with quotes. So, like, Microsoft basically talked shit about themselves, too. Like, straight up, like, the quality of the games that they put out. They said... in this other quote, Sony has more exclusive games than Microsoft, many of which are of better quality. Iconic first-party franchises, such as like God of War and stuff, and nearly 5 times as many exclusive titles as Xbox. Microsoft, are we forgetting that, Microsoft bought Bethesda as
Right.
Bethesda? Now, granted, we haven't really seen the exclusivity of that, but they're already making some moves, and isn't like Starfield supposed to be exclusive to
From what I
Xbox?
understand, it's supposed to be.
So I mean, there's that. I wouldn't be surprised if, we have all these other, studios that have been purchased. There was that number of years ago, was it like 2-3 years ago at this point, that Microsoft went on a spree of just
they've still got Obsidian. They own Obsidian.
And purchasing. Yeah, and Obsidian's not going to put anything on anywhere else.
No.
They have first party. They have hella first party developers. So what does that mean? Are you just like trying to buy up everybody so like nobody else can have the toys?
That is exactly what they're doing.
And then to have the balls to come out and say, well, the other guys, they have everything. We don't got nothing. We don't got anything at all. It's for us. We need a good game to put on a console. You're not doing it for your console, for your platform.
No.
I think what they did with this, it's a combination of two things, as we've talked about before. They smelled the blood in the water with Activision. They said, well, now's a good time to get a good-ass deal. But they got away with the Bethesda deal, because the Bethesda deal was huge.
Yeah.
But they didn't have so much in the way of first-party stuff that is like, oh, my God, this is huge. We're never going to have, X, Y, and Z game on other consoles again. They got away with that, and they're now pushing the limits. And now when they're starting to get pushback from it, they're like making deals and rationalizing, we'll give you Call of Duty for 10 years, or we'll give you Call of Duty. That's okay. Yeah, you can have some Call of Duty if that's all you're concerned about. Yeah, sure, have some Call of Duty. We'll be over here owning literally everything else.
Right. I mean, the thing is like they have to try and make themselves look like victims now. They have to try and make themselves look weaker than they are, because the entirety of antitrust is to keep people from becoming too strong. So you have to make yourself look not strong. But the strength is all in Microsoft. It's all in Xbox right now. And anybody who thinks God of War Ragnarok and Horizon Forbidden West is going to stem the tide of all of these studios that Microsoft owns, it's crazy. Now, the reason they didn't leap at anything at Bethesda is Bethesda still wasn't... I mean, they had bought a bunch of studios. They were AA, a couple of AAA studios in there that they had purchased. It was a big purchase. Then they bought Bethesda. Probably some eyebrows raised at that. But it's not enough. But then, especially since you look at Bethesda, and Bethesda is a huge company. I'm not saying it's not. Makes a ton of money. Big generator with revenue. It still, and I'm sorry, Bethesda fans, this includes me, it pales in comparison to the amount of dollars and cents that Activision Blizzard rakes in on a fucking daily basis. Blizzard Activision has some of the biggest money-making, like pure money-making properties in the industry. You have to remember, this isn't necessarily about quality IPs. And that's what some people are forgetting. It's not necessarily about, like, even Microsoft is using that defense. That's not really what this is about. It's not necessarily about, like, our games are better than theirs. It's about, look at the amount of money that Activision, the percentage of money that Activision brings in comparison to all these other companies. It's astronomical. To own them outright is huge. It definitely corners the market, and it definitely makes you the biggest player in gaming without even releasing a game. That's the other thing. Microsoft is playing a whole different war, and this is something I've been saying for a while. Microsoft is not trying to make better games. They are not trying to make better consoles. They are trying to own everything. They are trying to make it so that it doesn't matter what you own, you have to pay Microsoft to play that thing. That's what they're trying to do. They want Sony. They want you to buy games, that's what they want. They want to make money off all of it. That's what they want. and they do want to kind of crush Sony, and I think that's how they're doing it. They're not doing it with this isn't a fair. The whole idea of the antitrust is fair competition in the market. This isn't fair competition. They're not creating a better product. They're using the wealth that they have accrued through their computer basis to buy up the gaming industry. And that is bullshit. And that's been bullshit.
It's almost the same approach that Epic took to making a storefront
Exactly
as competition for Steam.
It's just Epic was such a smaller basis. Like smaller level of that comparatively.
It's like this under a microscope is exactly what it is. You know, you have somebody can walk in off the street, pockets loaded, and you can buy anything that you want. You can have anything you want. You can do anything you want, get whatever you want, as long as you have enough money for it.
Right.
And that's exactly what's happening. Is Microsoft's coming in, they're trying to buy their way, quote unquote, into the broader market. They're already there.
They're trying to buy the broader market, not their way in.
Yeah,
they're trying to own the market itself.
Yeah. And the fact that they have the audacity to sit there and say, "Oh, woe is me! Sony is decimating us," it's just ridiculous. They know for a fact that they make money off Game Pass. Unless this is like some sort of like they're keeping their cards to the chest, and they plan on cutting the price of Game Pass way up sky high once this deal goes through, which is, Phil Spencer's already alluded to that a couple times.
I mean, it's going to go up if this deal goes through. It's going to go up. Whether it goes up super high or not, I don't think it needs to. Right. I think they're making money hand over fist. I don't think it needs to. I think the other thing is I don't normally agree with Sony. Not necessarily because I don't like Sony or Sony products, but because the way that Sony responds to their consumer base, I find deplorable on many levels. They're just mean to their customers, which I don't understand, especially in this climate when they're very obviously losing the war at this point. Not in the way that they should be, but they're losing it. I 100% agree with them. They're 100% right on this. They are the victim at this point. Microsoft bought this company to force Sony to do things. They will 100% leverage Activision against Sony, against anybody else who wants Activision on their whatever. And on the Steam Epic thing, personally, I think Steam welcomes Epic. Because I think at any point in time, Steam was like, at any point in time, somebody could sue us for being the only game in town. I think they welcomed Epic. As shitty as Epic is, they're like, yeah, bring Epic in. Buy the games, whatever. Make yourself a strong competitor so that if somebody decides to sue us for being the only fucking digital storefront, then we can reference you. With this, Sony is right. Like, this is a shit deal. This is a shit consumer deal that they are trying to corner the market. They are trying to corner the game industry, and they are using considerable funds that Sony does not have access to. Anybody who thinks Sony, even Sony Electronics, makes more than Microsoft is crazy. They don't have the funds to compete with that company in a whole. This is what Microsoft is doing. This is how they are playing this. And technically, that's not how you're supposed to be allowed to play it, from what I understand of the market.
Yeah. It's whoever has the most toys wins, basically.
Well, but the whole idea, and you're right. The most cynical approach is exactly that. Whoever has the most toys win. But the whole idea of the antitrust laws and the FTC is they're supposed to... Right. They're supposed to say, no, it's the people who make the best product win. Like, that's what they're supposed to be there for. To stop people who have ungodly amounts of money from using that ungodly amounts of money to force smaller companies out of business. Now, am I saying that PlayStation is a mom and pop shop that, that's getting kicked out of 75 years out of family-owned business? No. They're an evil corporation all to themselves. But Sony is not trying to corner the market with their money. I mean, I don't necessarily think they have the money to do it, but they're not trying to do that. They are trying to build a better product. Now, Microsoft is not. They're not. They are buying studios that can make the better product for them, and then they're buying studios that would make products for both companies and keeping them from PlayStation. That's what they're doing. That is what they have been doing for the last 2 years. And technically, you're not supposed to be able to do that, at least from what I understand.
Right.
So, at the end of the day, I think the FTC should block this. I think they should block this. Personally, I think they should block it completely aside from the law. I want Bobby Kotick and all those Activision guys to burn in fucking hell. I want them out on their asses with their dicks in the wind. And that is never going to happen. Probably never going to happen anyway, but it's never going to happen as long as Microsoft is paying them ungodly amounts of money to go away and be happy with it. So, I want this deal to die. I don't want Call of Duty only on Xbox. I don't want any of these games only on Xbox. I don't want Starfield only on Xbox because I don't want any games only on Xbox or only on PlayStation or anywhere. I think everybody should be allowed to play it wherever they want to play it, period. Make your console about something different and then sell the console that way and stop taking games away from people. I hate that. I hate that mentality. I hate the way it looks at it. I hate the fact that developers do it even though they would make more money if they sold to both companies. Like, I hate exclusivity. It is a thing of the past that doesn't, like, it happened in the beginning because Genesis and Super Nintendo were completely different systems. They functioned in a different way. Let's face it. Consoles are computers. That's all they are. They're fucking PCs with their own operating systems. That's it. That's it. I mean, Switch is its own beast. I'm not going to say it's not. But Xbox and PlayStation are PCs with a different design and a different operating system that's specific to the thing that's making them. That's what they are. That's what they are. Anybody who wants to have shit with me can have shit with me. That's what they are in their chorus thing. There's no real fucking difference with them inside other than a few specs. They can run the same fucking game, so let the games be everywhere, man. I hate that. I hate the idea that, like, my buddy over here with a PlayStation can't play the game that I'm playing because I'm on a PC, and my buddy over here can't play the game that we're playing because he's on an Xbox. It's fucking bullshit, man. Just make your thing what it is, and then the people who want to buy that thing will buy that thing and play the games on that thing.
Basically, yeah. That's and that's the thing is, at some point, Phil Spencer used to be all about we want to have games everywhere. Everyone should play. Everybody should play all the things, and it should be great. And then, oh, by the way, I also want to control everything. Let's all play together, but only what I want to play.
Have I ever said my theory on that on the show?
You might have. I can't remember.
I'm going to say it again. If I've said it before, viewers out there, I apologize. I think Phil Spencer was, because there was all these rumors with Game Pass, that Game Pass was going to show up on Switch, and that Game Pass was possibly going to show up on PlayStation. There were all these rumors back in the day when Game Pass was getting big. And then all of a sudden, people were asking Phil about the Nintendo one, and he was like, let's stop worrying about putting Game Pass somewhere else. And that's what he said. I still think this is all a vendetta thing. I think he wanted to put Game Pass on everything. I think PlayStation blocked him on it. And so he's like, all right, I'm going to eat him. That's what I think. I still think that to this day. I think if PlayStation, whatever back room that they were talking in, had said, yeah, let's work out a deal to have Game Pass on PlayStation, we wouldn't be in this conversation. We wouldn't be having it. I don't think he'd own Activision. I don't think he'd own Bethesda. I think he'd be fine. He'd be happy because that's his goal, was to make money off every console. Like, that's always been his goal. That's what the whole idea of Game Pass was that he was going to make money anywhere you're playing games, you're playing it through him. That's what he wants. He wants to be the gaming son. And I think Sony was like, no, we're going to do our own thing. And even though their own thing sucks ass, they decided to do their own thing.
They've even said so.
They've even said so now.
They've even said so.
I think Phil has like a vendetta, and he's like, all right, we're going to destroy them so that we can be the only people. Because the console wars are alive. I know Phil Spencer, like 2 years ago, was like, the console wars are bullshit. They are way alive right now, and they're more alive today than I think they've ever been alive. These guys are fighting a legal battle with the Federal Trade Commission on both sides. These guys have gotten independent countries involved in this war between them. Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo never got the fucking UK involved in it. This is huge, okay? This is like a true corporate war between these guys going on right now. Anybody who thinks otherwise is insane. And I think that the outcome of this will decide a lot of things going forward as far as consoles go. Because after this, after Sony took such a hard stance against the Activision stuff, if somehow this deal goes through, Sony's not getting anything. You better believe that. Yeah. Like, if somehow Phil Spencer manages to come out without shit on his ass, like if he manages to come out on the other side with all the stuff and none of the consequences, then he is going to take everything he can away from Sony, and they're not going to be able to do a goddamn thing about it. So I really hope the FTC blocks it, or at least sanctions the ever-loving hell out of it. Mm-hmm. But do you got anything to add to it? We can move on if you want. I gotta warn you, I don't have any odds and ends because all the news stories everywhere has just been Black Friday deals, and I'm not gonna read Black Friday deals for people. So I don't.
Hey, I mean that's why part of the reason why I bought Sonic Frontiers the way and when I did, because I got it for $40.
Yeah, I rolled credits on it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I did. I'm very proud.
How was that?
It's really good. I liked it. I really liked it. There is a couple of things I didn't like about it that I think I can tell you about without ruining anything. But
okay.
But yeah, I mean, not to go off on a tangent during our talking point without pausing, but there's no end game. There's no after. It's kind of like Breath of the Wild. Like it just ends and then it's over. There's no reason to go do the 100% on every island. There's not even like, I even looked up potential like secret endings and whatnot. There is like one little hidden thing, but it's not a secret ending that you have to do anything for. So like going back and 100%ing the islands just becomes a waste of time and takes all the motivation out. It's the same thing for Breath of the Wild with me. I've talked about it a lot. Like if you had given me any reason to like keep exploring, you know what I mean? But they don't. The game just fucking ends. It's the same thing here. It just ends. And I don't think any open world should just end, especially if you're doing DLC. Because like I have Sherlock Holmes Chapter 1, which I love that game. Love that game. Frogware's great Ukrainian developer too, if you want to support a Ukrainian developer. Their DLCs are all stories in the game, but you can't access them with a game that you've beaten the game with because it saves right before the last thing, so you can't like go back to it. Like it's cleared, it's just done. Mm-hmm. So like I had to go in and go all the way through to the very end, but before actually initiating the end mission, to then go back and do DLC when it released. That's crap. Like, if I, like, you gotta make it so that when the DLC comes out, I can just play the fucking DLC, you know?
You would like how Mario Odyssey does.
I actually kind of want to play Mario Odyssey, I'm not gonna lie. I haven't loved a Mario game since Galaxy, but I kind of want to play Mario Odyssey.
Yeah, I think you'll enjoy it. I really do think that you'll enjoy it. All the levels are like, it's still like level based, but they're massive. But the one thing that it does that I know that you'll absolutely enjoy is you'll notice that there are things and places that you can see off in the distance or like know that there's some way that you can interact with it somehow, but it's like not very apparent how or something like that. Once you finish the game, once you roll credits on the game, all of that stuff opens up and there's an entire another like subsection of all of the worlds available again.
That's how Kirby was.
Yeah.
I still haven't finished Kirby, like a full 100%. I want to go back to it. But, all right, well, we're done. We're obviously not even talking about the talking point anymore. So do you have odds and ends, or is this going to be an extreme?
No,
okay.
I do.
Right,
I do have odds, yes.
We'll go to odds and ends then, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back. Maybe William Holland will be angry with this show. We don't know. We'll be back in...
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, so that brings us to our third segment, our final segment, odds and ends. This is where we collect smaller news stories that don't necessarily deserve a full talking point. We just want to riff on them here, tell you guys about them, and give you the lowdown, the skinny, whatever. I don't have any because, as I previously mentioned, every time I've been in IGN in the last week, it's just Black Friday deals from start to finish.
Deals.
Don't really have anything to talk about as far as odds and ends go. So yeah, Neil, take it away.
Well, boy, howdy, do I have some.
Okay, all right, let's do it.
So the first one here, it's funny because of our main talking point here. Oh, woe is Sony. But apparently, Sony and Honda may be teaming up, weirdly enough. Honda to put PS5 consoles into Honda's mobility electric concept car. Apparently, the car is meant to be entirely autonomous and is meant to compete with a Tesla, and the Teslas have, entertainment offerings in them, like Cuphead and stuff like that can be played in those cars. So it's meant to compete with those. So, why not, instead of slapping a CD in your CD player in your car, because I'm sure they don't have those anymore. My car still does for some reason, being a 2019. But anyways, why not just slap a game in and play some game on the way to work in the morning? Because why not? And I guess this concept car is going to be released in 2024. So that'll be interesting.
Well, much like last week, I can think of nothing but why nots. I may just be an old fogey here. I may just be a product of my time. I'm 41 years old. Maybe, I think I'm a pretty forward-thinking dude as far as it goes, as far as also the cultures. I try and stay up on things. There's a couple of things I just can't get on board with. One of them is cars that drive themselves. No, I will not be driving a car that drives itself. There will never be a point in my life when I'm like, hey, car, take me somewhere. Because I've had a computer, and I've seen it do all the fucked up shit it does. I've had consoles. I've seen them do all the fucked up shit it does. I don't want to be the glitch in the system that sends me and my family off a cliff. So I will never be driving a self-driving car. Even if the car has the option to self-drive, I will not be turning that on. The only time I could think possibly that I would turn that on is I have been shot or stabbed in a way that makes it impossible for me to use my leg, and I may die. And the only way to get to a hospital is for me to turn on this self-driving mode and tell my car to take me to a hospital. That is the only way I could possibly conceive of using a self-driving car mode. It's fucking crazy. And I know that there's a lot of people, I'm sure, that are really happy with this feature. I'm too old for it, all right? I'm putting on my old cranky card on this one, my get off the lawn card. I will never drive a self-driving car. No way. If I did drive a self-driving car, the entire time, I would just be staring at the road, waiting for something to go wrong. I certainly wouldn't be playing God of fucking War while my car is driving at 65 miles per hour. Would not be happening.
I can just imagine, like, in the future, just driving down the road and, like, you get cut off or something like that, and you just, like, scream, go to hell, and then you hear, like, the car's, like, computer say, yes, going to Taco Bell. Like, right? Just, like, oh, yeah, just completely doing, because, like you said, glitches are everywhere, man. Now, I know I know when I was younger, I was trying to, I very briefly had a second PlayStation 2 that I was going to put in my car. I had the PlayStation 2 in the car, I had a power inverter, so that way I could plug it in and actually play games. All I needed to get was the stereo that had the display so I could have a PlayStation in my car. I don't know what the fuck I thought I was going to do with it. Me being a kid, I thought it was just going to be cool as hell. Now that would be just absolutely pointless because I have a phone to screw around with while I'm driving that I can, crash myself into something.
Fine. Just fine. Yeah. Yeah. No way.
So, next up, the Callisto Protocol is going to be coming out here pretty soon. The spiritual successor to Dead Space.
Mm-hmm.
And they are doing some shit.
Really?
Yeah.
Modern day gaming, AAA game, doing shitty shit. I can't believe it.
Yeah. So they're going to be locking some of the death animations behind a DLC season pass. A DLC season pass for a single player game. Why are we calling it a season pass?
Well, okay, I'm not defending this, but
is there even talk of
that's not a battle pass, though.
Take it over here for a second, because I need to, before I start bitching.
I mean, is it a battle pass type season pass, or is it like what you used to get when you get a season pass for like Borderlands, which meant you got all the DLC? Like, is that what it is? Because those are two very different things. Like, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, back in the day, before battle passes, you would go into like a GameStop and they would be like, I want to buy Borderlands 2, and they'd be like, would you like the season pass? It's an extra $20, and it means that you get all the DLC when they come out, like all 4. That's what a season pass was back in the day. So like, what is it? Because if it's a battle pass, it's dumb as shit. But if it's a season pass, I mean, it's still kind of dumb, but that's a little bit better.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just the connotation now with the season pass. Season pass now is like all associated with these online multiplayer seasable.
You just think about it as the seasons and the battle passes and stuff like that. Yeah.
If it's DLC, still the fact that they're hiding that stuff behind DLC, at that point you're literally just removing like shit from the game just so you can sell it separate. And that's the shit that I hate. It's just as bad as when Capcom used to put all the DLC on the disc, and all you were doing was paying for like a 200 kilobytes worth of data to unlock it. That sort of shit pisses me off. Now, I don't know what has been necessarily announced in regard to DLC for this, but I did take a look, and it is a single player only horror game. There's been no mention of a multiplayer or anything like that.
But I don't understand death animations being locked behind anything. Like, if you don't have those created to start with, why would you make those as DLC? Like, that's a weird DLC because it's a single player game. Who's gonna wait to play through the game for death animations?
Yeah.
And who's gonna go back and play through it again for death animations? Exactly. Like, I get that, and like For Honor does that stuff all the time. Like, their updates, they add finishing maneuvers, like when you're taking out a person. Real cool. You can buy them with in-game currency that you earn, yada yada yada. But like, it's a multiplayer game. That makes sense. Why would you do this in a single player game? Like, it doesn't make any sense. I'd be really worried about what the DLC for that game's gonna be at that point. Like, why would I pay? So I'm paying for death animations that I'm not gonna need by the time they come out?
Exactly. It's all.
I mean, aside from the fact that it could be a battle pass, if it's a battle pass in a single player game, good God, that's dumb. Like, I don't even understand the point of that. But like, I would be so flabbergasted if that was actually what they were doing that I can't even comment on that here. But the DLC sounds stupid. Like.
Exactly. Like, and I don't even know what they could, unless it's like the game is sequel bait or the DLC is sequel bait. Like, okay, fine, I get it. But the death animations, like, from what I know of Dead Space and what it's aiming to be, there's a lot of stuff that is very specific to how you die. Like, getting caught in machines and stuff like that are very specific to certain areas of the game. So what am I going to do? Pay $20, go back through and find all the spots where I can die again and just see what it looks like? Like,
so wait, so it's death animations of your character? I thought it was like finishing moves for.
Oh.
So wait a second. They're locking.
Oh no, yeah. When you die in, like, if you've ever seen anything from Dead Space, you've probably seen some of the death animations.
It's fucking stupid.
They're about 10 to 15 seconds long sometimes. I think there's even like one or two that literally last 30 seconds as you get like ripped limb from limb. But it's all very specific to how you die via creatures or the environment. So there's no just like, okay, you die and you just do the generic fall over death.
That's fine. But so you're telling me that their paid DLC is you're paying for things that you're trying to never see ever.
As near as we can tell, unless they have some other like story DLC that all comes bundled with it.
This is the stupidest shit I've ever heard of in my life. Like if that's real, that's absolutely insane. That's like paying for a special DLC for different shades on a game over screen. Like, you're never trying to get them. You're trying to beat the game without dying. Like, there's plenty of games where it's all about dying repeatedly. I'm sure this is one of them, but you're not trying to do that.
Right.
Like, that's insane. Like, who would play it, buy that, and be like, I gotta run over to those bugs and let them kill me so that I can see that death animation that I paid $5.99 for? What fucking insanity is that? Good God, that is... Just move on to the next one. That's like...
Gotta love games, man. Gotta love games.
I don't know if I do anymore. I long for the days of ignorance.
So this one here is kind of like a little bit of a follow-up from last week's when we talked about Pokemon.
Okay.
So Nintendo has claimed, they claim genuinely, that no one has complained about the condition of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. And they have zero plans to patch or update the game.
So I have this weird theory about Pokemon people that I might get shit on for. I don't want to call this guy out because he's a friend of mine, okay? But I was recently talking to somebody who has been playing a lot of Pokemon. He swears, neither he nor the 4 people he's playing with have experienced any technical issues whatsoever, that they haven't noticed any frame rate dips, any shoestringing, any of this. And I gotta say, I don't know if he's listening to this. Again, haven't called out your name, bro, but you're full of shit. There's no way. And I think that Pokemon fans fall into the same category as the crazy-ass Monster Hunter Capcom fans, where they will never say that the game is bad, that they'll never say there's anything wrong with the game, no matter how bad it is, because this is crazy. The idea that they've received no complaint. Watch the IGN review. IGN, the most bought and paid for reviewing company in the world. Watch their footage from their fucking review. Watch their video review, their 9-minute video review. Just watch the shit they noticed. They're a review company. Like, it's fucking crazy to me. It's crazy to me that people wouldn't have noticed it. So I hate to put the entire fan base on blast, but I really kind of think they're all like, you don't talk about Pokemon bad, or we come for it. Like, you don't talk about that. Unless you're a Pokemon fan, you don't get to talk bad about Pokemon. It's the same with the Monster Hunter people who came after me after Monster Hunter Rise. I think it's the same thing. And I'll probably get hate for it. I don't care. I mean, we all know I don't care if I get hate anymore. I'm well past that point. But I think they all are, because he emphatically was like, I have played hours and hours of it and not noticed any issues whatsoever. And I'm just sitting on the other side like, okay. And I'm just in my head, I'm like, there's no fucking way that you and 3 other people haven't noticed any of this. Any of this. Like, no crashing, no problems, while playing co-op, which is said to be the absolute worst way to play it. I don't know. So, fine, man, don't patch it, repair it, whatever. I mean, they're probably making plenty of money off the same fans that would never say that it's bad. You know what I mean? They just have this ravenous zealot base, like zealous fan base that's just, they're going to buy Pokemon. Pokemon's going to come out. They're going to purchase it. It doesn't matter the condition. It doesn't matter the reviews. It doesn't matter what it's about. It's going to release. They're going to buy it. They're going to play it, period. And that's what they make their money off of. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They don't have to make it good. They don't have to make it better. They've sold it to the people who are going to buy it already. They sold it to the people who are going to buy it before the game ever came out. They just said, hey, we're making a game called Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. And everybody, well, we're going to buy it. It's already done. The deal was done.
Yeah, and it's like supposed to be it's supposed to be the fastest selling Pokemon game.
Of course.
That's ever been released.
Why not? It's a mainline Pokemon entry on Switch. Sure. Yep. Definitely.
So we just spent like basically the whole show talking about it, but some other information that came out during this whole Microsoft Activision deal is
just when I'm out, this motherfucker pulls me back in. Gotta love it.
Apparently, it is on the books on Sony's side that the PlayStation 6 is slated for launch in 2027 or 2028.
Neil Simpson, the eternal concrete block around my ankles. No matter how hard I swim, just drag me back out. So wait, this is the next PlayStation slated for when?
The PlayStation 6. Not the mid-cycle hardware revision. The actual PlayStation 6 is apparently slated for launch in late 2027 or sometime in 2028.
So 2027. So let's say 2027, right?
That's going to give us a 7-year lifespan on the console.
A 7-year lifespan on the console. But barely though. I mean, barely. People can barely start getting them now. We're 2 years in. 2 years into the console. So it's going to feel insanely short. You know what? I don't even care. I'm doubling down. That console's never coming out. Never coming out. It's never going to see the light of day. Sony, there's no way Sony survives in the current climate, in the way that they treat their customers, in the way they treat their opponents in this marketplace for the next fucking 5 years. There's just no way. No way. Not survive in a capacity to release a successful console. There's just no way. I don't believe it for a second. Or if it does, it's going to be the fucking Dreamcast. It's going to be the last thing they ever do. I think that, like, especially if Phil comes out of this FTC thing, fine. Because if he comes out of this FTC thing, fine, he's going to buy Ubisoft. I've been saying that forever. He will buy Ubisoft. That will be the next thing he buys. And then it's all over. Sony doesn't have anything anymore. There's no way. There's no way. I don't think so. I mean, I just don't. I don't. Sony has done nothing to prove to me that they have the financial base to be able to pull this off. When they're hemorrhaging money over the PlayStation 5, they can't even get them out the door. So much that all their old games are still on the PlayStation 4, which makes them look like assholes. And then they literally have to spend the rest of their time in the public eye fighting this fucking lawsuit with the FTC against Microsoft by basically saying how shitty a company they are. There's no way they get to a PlayStation 6 in this current climate. Not like this. Sorry, everybody. I want there to be a PlayStation 6. I want to clarify right now. I want there to be a PlayStation 6. I do. Competition is good for the industry. I want there to be a new Sega system. Still. Like, I want systems. More consoles equals better. I just don't believe that Sony has the financial stability to compete with Microsoft at this point.
Yeah, I don't know. It's certainly something that's like I think it's a bit ballsy for them to have a date on the books to begin with, even if everything's in the normal realm of the whole development process. Right. The fact that we're just now, like you said, having availability be rolling out.
Yeah,
I will bet you not. I don't know if it's necessarily going to be the next E3, but the following one, we're going to have our hardware revision version of the PS5 and the Series X.
Well, and let's face it, we could have gotten another 3 years out of these consoles just because of that chip shortage. Mm-hmm. Like, they could have easily gotten more time out of these consoles because nobody has them.
Right.
Like, it would have been so much easier to just be like, no. And don't get me wrong, I don't remotely, I'm not saying that there aren't people in a laboratory working on the PlayStation 6. There were people working in a laboratory on the PlayStation 6 long before the PlayStation 5 ever came out. That's how these things work. It's the same with Xbox. That there are people in laboratories probably working on the PlayStation 7. I'm just saying that to have a date and in their current situation to be so confident about that date is insanity. And honestly, it's probably a fucking ploy to get more, to make them look better than they are. Mm-hmm. To generate more investors, to generate more revenue, to do it in the first place. It's the same thing with the pre-order stuff.
So, we got our last one here, and this one's
if it's about Activision, I think you're fired.
It's not. It's about GameStop.
Oh my god!
Yay!
Almost as bad.
Favorite clown.
Almost as bad.
So the GameStop website had a little bit of a glitch here in the past few days. I believe it was yesterday at the time of this recording. So some customers who were doing their holiday shopping on GameStop noticed a little teeny tiny baby little hiccup when they were refreshing their web pages. Other people's information was being displayed on the web page.
Oh my god.
Personal information, addresses, purchase history, payment methods, all that stuff with evidence being shared all over Reddit of this, of course. People refreshing their screen and having 3 different bits of information show up for 3 different times. Now, the glitch has since been fixed, but GameStop said, no, it wasn't a glitch. It wasn't a glitch at all. It was a test. They didn't say what for, but it was a test, apparently. And the best part is, how we know it wasn't a test is people, of course, seeing other people's information there, started freaking out and tried to change the passwords for their accounts, and they couldn't. The system wouldn't allow them. So something happened. I don't know if it was something that like a malicious group got access to it, or it was just GameStop doing GameStop shit. But
well, and how shitty to not tell people the truth. I feel like everybody at GameStop, all the bosses are like those 1950s guys from Mad Men, like with the slick back hair and the suit and the cigarettes, and they're just like, yeah, tell them it was a test, see? Tell them it was a test. They'll never know better, see? Yeah. Now let's all get drunk and cheat on our wives. Like, I feel like that's the group of people that run GameStop. I don't know. It's just fucking insane. They're an insane company that I am almost gonna be sad when they're gone because they're insane in a funny way. Like, not like active, like they're not big enough to really hurt anybody anymore, but they're just like every day it's something crazy. You're like, now we're selling diapers, like.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to see tomorrow's GameStop headline. Like, I just like every day the ship burns a little bit more, and like nobody tries to put it out, and you're just like, hey, you're on fire? Yeah, we're good. Like, it's good. It's just a test.
Got this under control.
It's a test. It's a test of how well the boat deals with fire. Oh, okay. All right. Doesn't look like it's doing well, but you do you, man. Yeah, that's fucking GameStop, man. What a comedy show.
But that is it. That's all I got for this week.
Let's wrap this shit up and then go to fucking sleep. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of the show. And with it brings the shameless self-promotion that comes with it. Neil, you got anything special to plug? Not.
Well, I mean, I be on UHW doing UHW things.
Yes.
Fighting dudes, bitch slapping motherfuckers and whatnot. With this here game right here that you can, yeah, I'm
for
trying.
Christmas, baby.
I gotta.
It's good for Christmas. You gotta get it right in front of your face or it vanishes.
Yeah, to get it directly in front of my face, I have to become. And that barely even worked. But actually, a little side thing. I'm just going to throw it out there.
Sure.
You probably already know what I'm going to talk about here, just very briefly. I don't know if it is 100% happening yet, but we or I, depending on how it shakes out, I have to get in touch with the guy. Might be doing a collab episode of a podcast. So basically, it's one of those situations to where my wife knows somebody from high school who actually also does a podcast. It's called the Dope Nerds Podcast, and they do a lot of like Marvel, anime, gaming stuff to what they talk about here now. As it stands right now, we might be recording it next week. Not 100% sure, like I said. I think the guy's looking to get back on a more regular recording schedule because their most recent episode came out at the end of October. Yeah. Well, then he had reached out to me afterwards. So So I think that's what it was. I think it's just because it's him and a couple of his friends do the podcasting things. But yeah, when I have some more information on that, we will see what is going on with that. But they are some good guys. I listened to an episode of their podcast.
I still gotta listen. Still gotta listen to one. Yeah, and I'm a little bit more toxic than you, so I kind of understand if they want you and not me. I totally get it. I totally get it. If you send them, you need to send them a link. They need to know what they're getting into, because then, like, yeah, we want you. That other guy, man, he swears a lot. So yeah, I get it. Whatever, we'll promote it no matter what. It does sound fun. I want to give one more shout out to William Hoolan, who got his 6th episode of his podcast up. Haven't listened to it yet. Planning on listening to it this week. So very excited about that. I do want to say on the UHW stuff, probably, just given the outward schedule look right now, you probably will not be seeing new episodes of it until the new year. I am sorry for that. Obviously, I'm trying to get my voice better. I'm willing to do it outside my voice, but now we are looking at a very tough, very thick recording schedule for the end of the year as we prepare to be off for those last 2 weeks, because I don't know if anybody's keeping track, but Christmas and New Year's falls on Sundays, which are our recording days. So unless we want to work on those days, we need to have stuff in the tank. Plus, we have a lot of special shows. I think next week I have to talk to Phil Billy. I hope I talk to him before he hears this, but because that would be mean. But I think next week we're probably going to do our prediction show, our yearly prediction show.
Nice.
We take a look at all our predictions from last year, whether we got them right, who won, and then we make predictions for the following year. What's the count? It's 3 normal ones and 1 crazy one?
Yes, I believe that's what we went with.
Okay.
I have my notebook somewhere over here. I knew this was going to happen, and I intentionally tried to make sure I wrote it in a separate notebook and keep it off to the side, and I'm sure I'm not going to be able to find it.
I actually wrote them down on my phone, too. I found it. So
I think I took a picture. I think I took a picture of them just to be safe. Yeah, I know. It worst comes to worst, I'll just have to do what I did last year and go through and find the episode and just listen to it and rewrite them all.
Right. So that hopefully will be next week. The week after that, we will probably be doing our review of Keely's Fuckfest, because that will be the first show after Keely's Fuckfest. Then the show after that, we're probably going to do our year in review. Just take a look at 2022, everything we liked about it, everything we hated about it, stuff like that. The week of Christmas will be the Horrible Game Awards, ladies and gentlemen. It is back. Horrible Game Awards. Here we go. I've got the nominations all in. I'm about to do the voting with everybody. Then we're going to start scheduling and recording our little snippets. Super excited for that. We love the Horrible Game Awards. It's one of our most fun times. That will be the week after Christmas. So the Tuesday after Christmas. I think it's 27th audio, 28th for visual. Oh, man. Are we even going to have a visual? That's going to be tricky.
Ooh.
I find that probably less people will want to do the nominations if there's a visual component to it. We'll have to see. That being said, then the New Year's Day, we're going to do most anticipated. What we're most anticipated for, and it will be pre-recorded. Then we will be back to our normal schedule after that. So kind of everything's scheduled already. We just have to find some way to make it happen. Because of that, UHW will probably not return until January or February. But once it does, we will be back. I have not quit on it. We're definitely going to be back. It's a lot of fun. I can't wait to get back to it. It's just right now, I want to prioritize what's right here in front of us. And hopefully my fucking voice gets better at some point in my life.
I would hope so.
Please. So yeah. All right. Other than that, you can check out everything we have to offer on the channel. We got a lot of fun stuff. My amateur hour this week, I got the Cowabunga collection, so I will be playing Hyperstone Heist. I'm very excited about that. So special plug to amateur hour on Tuesday if you want to check that out. And then I'm still doing Hard Rock Halloween, even though it's way after Halloween, but people really like to watch me murder people in Dead by Daylight. So I'm going to keep doing it as long as I keep getting crazy 90 view counts. So yeah. All right, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. You can reach us on Facebook at Old Man Gaming DH, on Twitter at Old Man Gaming 9. You can join our Discord. Links in the description below. You can influence this and all of our shows from there. And then, as usual, as long as you keep watching and listening, we will keep making it. See you guys next week. Pause. I am sorry. The belching is going to be regular. I cannot control it. We ate at a place called Wally Waffle today. Wally Waffle. Wally Waffle. It's apparently a chain that exists in Ohio that I never heard of. But after the pants, Stella's been really into going to actual restaurants and sitting down and eating, which we're fine with. And after the pants, we were like, let's go get some food. But we were in Montrose. We don't go out there much. We didn't know what there was, so we had to Google it. Yeah. And breakfast food sounded good. This was the dirtiest place I think I've ever eaten at. There's just napkins and food on the floor everywhere. And it is a breakfast place that was an hour from closing. But still, it was pretty dirty. And we walk in and we sit down and they bring you these. And I don't know. There's just something about this food. It has just been sitting in my stomach, just fucking punching the sides of my stomach like it's fucking practicing for a fight in Rocky 3. It's just destroying me from the insides out. I don't know what it is. I mean, it was a chorizo omelet, so maybe that's on me. Yeah. It's on me. They also call their hash browns Wally fries, so I got really confused. No. I was like, why does this breakfast place not serve hash browns? And my wife's like, what are you talking about? I was like, there's no hash browns on this menu. It's just Wally fries everywhere. What the fuck are Wally fries? And then the guy comes over. I'm like, what are Wally fries? And he just looks at me. He rolls his eyes, and he goes, not at me, but he goes, they're just hash browns. They're just hash browns. I was like, why do they call them Wally fries? I was like, I don't know. I don't know. They're just hash browns. I was like, okay, all right, fine. I get it.
Man, of all the places to eat out there, there's a Melt right there.
We drove past the Melt to eat at this place. That's the mistakes that were made this morning. I was like, there's the Melt. Oh man, and it's just ever since it's been a sign these are the choices you've made.